All right. We should be live, Anil. Thank you for
Yeah,
joining
hi.
us again for a
Yes,
more
thank you.
formal interview this time. I have some very specific
Yes,
questions for you.
right. Yes,
So, just to kind of set the stage, will you tell everybody kind of who you are and what your
right,
main focus is? Yeah.
right. Well, I am one of the founders of Save Indian Family Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
This is a prominent men's rights organization in India. It was founded in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Well, though the name says Save Indian Family Foundation, the word family here doesn't mean wife and husband and children. Here,
Okay.
the family means the community.
Right.
Okay. So in our context, sometimes you can call the community as a family or the extended, the clan as a family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is possible to do, define that way. So it is all about saving that. So we were not using a direct name like men's rights organization,
Right.
but we had this kind of a name, right? And that is obvious because when feminists use the word gender for as a synonym for women, then we can use the word family as a synonym for men, right?
Yes. Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Right. So that was an early strategy for us to define, and then we contributed to expansion of the movement all over India. We
Mm-hmm.
were only 70 guys in those days in internet. So imagine we going to every city and creating an organization. So
Mm-hmm.
like that, 15, 20 organizations we created, and by 2008, we had a dozen organizations working all over the country. Okay,
Nice. Yeah.
because if there was a billion plus population with the different languages and cultures, so every organization had its own local flavor,
Yeah.
but everybody communicated through Hindi or English. So that's how we came up. And as the social media and blogs they started growing
Mm-hmm.
with more broadband access. I must say, India has the cheapest broadband available in India. It costs us maybe 10 cents for a GB of data.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's a lot of empowerment of ordinary people and poor people through
Yeah.
data.
Yeah.
Okay, a poor person can easily afford data in India. Okay,
Right.
so that is really powerful, and that is what led to lot of men's activists and male victims coming to social media like Facebook, Twitter, and all that.
Mm.
So that's how there's a lot of presence of Indian MRAs.
Yeah.
You will find. And well, Indians are like 1 out of 7 people in a world are like an Indian, 1 out of 6 maybe.
Yeah.
So there is a percentage that's an advantage.
Yeah.
The Chinese will not be there because they don't speak English. Right.
Right.
Right. So that is a contribution. So if you see a YouTube video, there will be a lot of Indian viewers or Twitter or Facebook everywhere. So they
Yeah.
have a presence. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So the topic that we're going to cover today is the marital and false rape accusations.
Right.
The law
Uh-huh.
specifically, right?
Right. Right. So well, I'll talk about sexual harassment and rape laws first. India did not had a workplace sexual harassment law for a
Yeah.
long time. Sometime in late 90s, they had something called a guideline in the Supreme Court. So they used to have that for a workplace harassment committee and all that. Okay,
Hmm.
but then United Nations under Millennial Development Goals, see, United Nations is all over the place. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
especially in the developing countries, the United Nations literally dictates how the villages run, and they are at every level.
Yes.
Once I went to Myanmar a couple of years back, and I saw United Nations T-shirts and everything, at village level. So you can
Jeez.
imagine. So
Yeah.
so they forced India to have this law, and but we also had our own conditions. We wanted the law in a certain way. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of fight, and ultimately 2013 the law was passed. The sexual harassment at workplace law
Hmm.
was enacted, but they excluded men. So a man cannot claim harassment from a woman or from another man. Okay, so men are not protected, or
Right.
LGBTQ or whatever trans or whatever pronouns they may use.
Right.
As per law, they are not yet protected. Okay,
Mm.
so the feminists were successful in preventing men from getting the relief under the sexual harassment laws.
Right.
And about the rape law I think is the same as the UK, the British law. Okay, till now.
Hmm.
But in the rape law, as the traditional rape law used to be in Western countries, the men are excluded
Right.
from the law. Okay, so that creates a distortion. So if a man has consent or no consent, okay, so these are completely ignored. Any conversation in a court of law about a man's side of it, it is like man's duty, something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
so if a man is abstaining from sexual activities with his wife, it can be considered as cruelty or something like that, and there are a lot of complications around it. However, in 2013, they made the rape laws more stringent. So
Hmm.
they removed a lot of evidentiary standards. So, for example, you cannot talk about the history of the person. If a woman is a prostitute and she is claiming a rape by one of her clients, or so you can't bring that into the evidence part of it.
Okay.
Or if there is a familiar relationship between the both the people, or maybe these two people are related,
Yeah.
they were in a relationship, and then there was an allegation of rape. You cannot use that background to so they removed all those evidentiary requirements and
Right.
the medical tests and all. They removed a lot of that. So it becomes like the woman's word alone, and then it leads to a complaint. It can lead to a complaint of rape,
Right.
and then naturally there is a big gap here. And here is the funny part. In India, the definition of consent is very bizarre, very very strange. They say that one can withdraw consent after 6 months or 1 year.
It's
Okay,
so weird.
uh, right. So they say that if a man has obtained consent with a false identity, or claiming something which is false, or making a false promise of marriage,
Mm.
then that consent over a period of 6 months or year or 2 years is not consent at all.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
breaking a promise
Yeah.
can mean rape. Now here
Okay.
is the problem. I mean, if a man, then in that case, if a man is divorcing his wife,
Right.
okay, or he's just leaving his wife, then also you can call it, right? I mean, this is so strange. And
Yeah.
however, when you make a promise, right?
Mm.
The very word promise means that there is a probability that you may keep the promise or you may not keep the promise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can you say that if somebody is not keeping that promise because he found that that relationship is not working, right?
Right. Right.
But then that relationship not working, but there is an abuse going on in that relationship, and that's why they broke up.
Yeah.
Now this doesn't leave men with any option to break up. Okay, and if the
Mhm.
woman is not going to let him go, so in such a case he can go to a police station and file a complaint of rape. And we know situations where men are forcibly married in a police station. The police says, I'm going to file a police report of rape,
What?
and unless you marry her right in the police station, and next day you consummate the marriage.
What? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what the Western media, especially the leftist Western media,
Yeah.
CNN, BBC, and Guardian, and all these Time magazine, they don't cover. New York Times, they don't cover all that part
No,
of the
they don't.
story.
Yeah.
And many times they throw the man in the prison. So he goes
Yeah.
to a prison outside the city, and then after 15 days he gets married in the prison to that girl, and then they withdraw the rape charges. So this man is forced to marry against his
Right.
consent,
Right.
and then that means he's getting sexually abused,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. He's being
Yes,
blackmailed
right.
and held hostage, like
Yes,
literally.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So this kind of a mindset in the society or in the judiciary comes from a highly gynocentric
Yeah.
mindset. It's not a feminist mindset. It's a gynocentric mindset, like with a lot of chivalry and all involved.
Huh. So gynocentric is different than feminist. How?
Yeah,
Because doesn't
the
feminism
gynocentric.
predate
I mean, okay, yeah,
gynocentricism?
no, yeah, yeah. We define three different things here. Three things:
Okay. Yeah.
misandry, gynocentrism, and feminism.
Okay.
We believe that all those three are independent of each other, just
Okay.
like the colors of red,
The
red,
primary
blue,
colors in yellow.
primary
Mhm.
colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and yellow, those three are primary colors. They are
Yeah.
not dependent on each other, right?
Right.
Same way, misandry is an independent entity.
Okay.
Okay, and misandry can be female to male or male to male. Okay,
Yes.
often the male to male misandry is ignored. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, and then there is gynocentrism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and gynocentrism is all about putting women on a higher priority. Okay, it
Yeah.
is like saying women and children first.
Right.
So the Titanic was not a feminist ship. It, there was no
Right.
feminists running Titanic. It was
Right.
men,
Right.
and the social gynocentrism was there, that the women and children first.
Yes.
That comes from gynocentric mindset, not the feminist mindset.
Okay.
Of course, today what feminists do is they use misandry,
Yes.
the male to male misandry, and they use gynocentrism. They piggyback on these two underlying social concepts or phenomena to
Yeah.
propel themselves.
Yeah.
And then they say outside that, we are all about equality. Okay.
Right.
But
Right.
if a female is getting privileges due to gynocentrism,
Mm-hmm.
or if a man is getting abused because of, let us say, misandry, then they
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, we don't care about it. Okay. If a
Yeah.
man is facing violence because of misandry, male to male misandry, then they say that's a man to man problem. How are
Yeah.
we concerned?
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things feminists do is they put men against men, like powerful
Mm-hmm.
men, like Biden or Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. These guys are funding so much to feminists.
Yeah.
They're men, right? They have no
Yes.
love for the rest of the men.
Right.
Now, feminists have successfully propagated a theory for all these years that it's a male dominated world.
Right.
And they have lied,
Yeah.
saying that men have a very high degree of in group bias. Okay,
Right.
that means Biden is a man, Joe Biden is a man because
Mm-hmm.
he's the president. So he's supporting all the men. Okay, all
Right.
the men, black men and Latino men, white men. He's a friend of all men. Okay,
Right.
that's the theory that they are propagating. And they're saying because there are Supreme Court judges or CEOs are men, most CEOs are men, they are like Bill Gates is a friend of every man. So
Right.
that's the notion that they are propagating, which is not true. Historically, it is the men who have exploited other men.
Right.
Okay, like the kings and that's the misandry part, that they say that okay, because the male dominated, because there are more men in power, but they are not sharing that power with anybody,
Right.
right? The powerful men, they don't share that power with other men. In fact, they use women in whatever way, and then the rest of the men pay the price. So that is the effect of misandry. And the
Mm-hmm.
gynocentrism is something evolutionary because that is what needed for survival of the tribe. You know,
Yeah.
ancient time in a hunter-gatherer society, if the women do not survive, then there is no children, and the tribe will die.
Yeah.
So obviously, you give more priority to women, and that is how the cultures have evolved. All the cultures have evolved that way, right?
Yeah.
That you have to prioritize, and that was a necessity in ancient times, or
Yes.
maybe even 200 years back or 100 years back, women used to die during childbirth. I mean, a lot of women used to die, right? Maternal mortality rate was very, very high, even 50 years back across many countries in the world. So it made sense in those days. But that is where the gynocentrism comes from. A lot of gynocentrism comes from that.
Yeah.
And of course, the feminism is the latest one. We guys often have a theory that the feminists are the weakest out of these
Yes.
three forces.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So
I actually had one admit that they're weak here recently. I'll have
weak.
to tell you about it
Yes.
later. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So if you know how to hack them, how
Yeah.
to disrupt them, you will be able to disrupt feminists because they don't have, solid grounding. Okay.
Right. Right.
So they need help from funding. They need help. They are intellectually weak. They won't have principles. They have a lot of hypocrisy and double standards and fake
Hmm.
news, fake data. So
Yeah.
they thrive on all that.
Yeah.
Now, in India, what is going on is that in Indian feminists are influenced by a lot by American feminists.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
uh, they are doing this for last 30, 40 years. Like for example, the slut walk in
Mm.
2008, 2009, there was a movement of slut walk all over the world.
Yeah.
So in India, in Delhi, they had slut walk, and they started it in different cities of India. So they copy. So same way the Me Too they copy, right?
Yep.
So anyway, this is the whole background why we are interested to collaborate globally, because if they have a global sisterhood, we need
Yes.
a global brotherhood.
Yes, you do. Definitely. Definitely.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So coming back to the rape laws, so they
Yes.
excluded men, and they
Mhm.
have these very difficult kind of consent definitions of consent are very vague. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, they have written the law in such a way that there is no way you can prove that you did not promise to marry her, right? And
Right.
if she just have to claim, and there is no way, you are not signing any agreement or email or anything, and they won't accept that as an evidence also.
Well,
So if the girlfriend accuses that the man has promised me to marry her, and then he took my consent, and then he's broken up with me. So
mhm.
breaking up with girlfriend is a crime.
Right.
Okay. And now the latest news, last 10 days back, the government came up with a new proposal to change all the laws,
Yeah.
because our laws are the English penal code, okay, the British penal
Okay.
code. So
Yeah.
for the first time, they are trying to change them. British penal code 1860. That's what it's called. We follow that, the Commonwealth code. So they are changing it, and then they have increased the sentence to 10 years in prison. Okay, now from
Wow.
7 it becomes 10. So you break up with your girlfriend, then it can be a 10 years sentence. So that kind of criminalizes live-in relationships, but they
Yes.
won't accept it, and the media won't discuss it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But then we saw in Twitter there is a prominent police official of India. He's very vocal also in social media, and he tries to take some kind of a non-policy stand in the social media. He conducted a poll with more than 5-6,000 people participating about this particular law, and the
Yeah.
maximum people said it is not crime at all. If you break up with a woman, then it's not a crime.
Right.
It should
I
not
mean,
be charged with rape. Yeah.
yeah, no. So it is based on the model of the English common law.
No, no, this particular thing is Indian. I think this is
Okay.
not from India English common
It's
law.
not? Okay.
But yeah, this definition of consent, right? That
Yeah.
is very recent. And see,
Yeah.
the problem is that in India there is a tendency that we take whatever is there in USA or UK, and
Yeah.
we make it worse. We make it worse. Okay. The consent stuff. No means no, yes means yes.
Yeah.
So that the Indian gynocentric politicians have taken it, and
Mm,
they have defined it in this way, that if you have a relationship with a woman and you are not marrying her, so her life is destroyed,
right.
right? In fact, there is a famous Bollywood movie where, I mean, it is in when I was in college in 80s, late 80s. It's a famous movie where you know the man breaks up with the girlfriend and she's pregnant, and he says that just abort the baby and get lost. He tells to the woman, okay, and
Uh,
then the
Fear
woman commits
porn.
suicide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The woman commits suicide, and then the woman's family member, one of the uncles, he shoots the guy dead.
Right. Right.
Okay, that's where the movie starts.
Yeah.
So in a way they have this kind of a traditional mentality that Let's say a man touched a woman, he has to marry her. This is like a very ancient tribal code.
Right.
Okay, if I go into mythology, a king, he rescued a girl from a pit or somewhere she has fallen, and because he touched her, held her hands, then the girl claimed that you held my hand, so I'm married to you,
Mm,
something like that. So we have
yeah.
such kind of mythological stories.
Yeah.
So they, and then in the Hindu uh, language or Hindu code, they say there's no written code, but they say that marriage is for 7 lives. Okay, it's not
Okay.
like one life.
Right.
Okay, so if you remember recently in social media in USA, there's a lot of discussion about divorce being banned, right? In recent times, some
Yes.
influencers are talking about why
Yeah.
not we just ban no fault divorce. Not only
Yes.
that, let's ban divorce itself. So they are just, this is thought provoking stuff, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
in India, divorce is banned for 7 lives if you
Yeah.
follow that kind of a
Right. The
context.
tradition. Yeah. 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 They
Right.
have
I
been.
mean,
They have been working on getting rid of the no fault divorce in a few states. It's nice to see. Because I
right,
mean, why
right,
would you get married unless somebody was at fault? Like I never got that.
right,
That you
right.
could just get divorced because you felt like it. Like
Yes, yes. That's what is no fault divorce. By the
yeah.
way, India doesn't have a no fault divorce yet. We don't have that law yet.
Good.
So in India, it takes 7 years to prove the fault and to get a divorce, and then one can remarry.
Yeah. Well, but you guys lock up. You guys are locking up guys for for breaking up with women. So
Right.
there's a question: is there any influence or motivation behind male incarceration in general? Do you think?
No, no, it's a general misandry in the society that men are bad. Men
Yeah.
should not be trusted, and any allegation against a man should be easily uh, believed. So generally, the society is very judgmental about men always.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the movies and popular culture also show a lot of male to male violence, right?
Yeah.
In movies and all, the bad characters are men in
Yep.
most movies, right?
Yes.
Except a
Yes.
few, bad teacher or some other gone girl or some movie where it's a woman, but most
Yeah.
often it's the man, right? So
Yeah.
so it's easy to propagate a rumor or a myth or all that. So that's the background. And it's not like they want to throw people in prison, but it's the system is also corrupt, and
Yeah.
it's mostly the poor people that they end up poor men, they end up in prison because they don't can't afford a lawyer, and the lawyers don't do a good job
Mm.
often. So that is where the problem is, but we are able to save a lot of men,
Yeah.
especially from prison, because we are able to educate them how to be careful about their lawyer and how to stop the lawyer from damaging your case. So the
Yeah.
lawyers, the problem with lawyers anywhere is that they have very limited time.
Yeah.
They only spend couple of hours in a month on your case, right?
Mm.
Whether it's a rape case or it's a domestic violence case, they only spend 4 5 hours per each client. So they have limited time, and
Right.
these law firms are not very big. They all have associates. So
Yeah.
it's like more of self-employed people rather than having a 100 lawyers in a company or something like that.
Mm.
So they don't give enough time. And given the complexities of the legal system, the lawyers often use simple formulas. And sometimes the lawyers don't want to annoy the judge. Okay, that also happens in this part of world, that they
Yeah.
want to remain the good books of the judge. Like, if I fight too much in favor of men against women, then
Yeah.
maybe the judge will mark me, and he may give bad judgment against me. I want to be nice and friendly to the judge towards the
Mm. Sounds
so
corrupt.
that's where the men's rights plays a big role. So if a guy is coached by
Yes.
men's activists, men's community centers, so he can ensure that he's safe, his interests are safeguarded or better represented. And
Yeah.
sometimes men fight their own cases, like party in person. Maybe 5%, 4 to 5% men fight their own case, like lawyers. They study law or
Yeah.
they just get the training for 6 months and they argue in their own case, in a domestic violence case, or let us say matrimonial dispute or child custody case. So
Mm,
that way they don't have to pay any lawyer,
right.
right?
Do
But
they
this
are
not
they successful?
yes,
These men
yes,
that are
they
doing
are
it
often
themselves?
successful.
Yeah, good.
Yes, but the problem is that but it's a very hectic work. It takes a lot of your time. So you
Yeah.
may not be able to do full-time job if you are doing that. And if you are fighting the case in another city, then you have to
Hmm.
travel and work with the court system, court clerks. You have to work with the court's back-end system also, right? Because many times you have to do a filing which is in the in the room in the office of the clerk court, and you have
Right.
to get the certified copies and the documentation work and all. So it's not just what happens in the courtroom, right?
Right.
That's 30%, but lot of stuff goes on in the background. You have to do that also because you
Yeah.
are your own lawyer.
Right. You
Right.
don't have all those people to do that for you.
Right. So we don't advise everybody to go that path. We warn them. Only a
Yeah.
few guys who have a lot of passion and energy, they do that.
Yeah. Well.
Right.
So so here's a question. Is there a
Hmm.
connection between the Duluth model and the English common law of male incarceration especially? Do you know?
You mean Duluth law, Duluth model for domestic violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Domestic
In
violence cases.
family law
Yes, I
cases.
mean family law. Yeah, yes, yes. So they call it gender-based violence. So here gender means women. So violence faced by women. So that is what they follow. So they exclude men
Hmm.
and any relatives of men, like it's a brother or sister or mother of the man, everybody together. So the problem is all these people are trained from USA or UK or some foreign country. So the
Mm-hmm.
feminists travel to these countries and they train people here. So
Yep.
they have a very strong network.
They
And in
do.
fact, so these Indian feminists also get appointed into global bodies like UN, United Nations, and all. So
Mm.
UN special rapporteurs and other positions, they get into those positions. So
Yeah.
it's a two-way communication going on. With a lot of collaboration going on. So and also the media, it picks up the stories of what happens in USA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, unlike your media doesn't pick up our stories, but let's say Rodney King was beaten in LA, maybe in 1980s, 85 or 86,
Mm-hmm.
88, I guess. Yeah, that's a black man who was beaten and it was recorded, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we knew the news. How did we know? Because our media covers that news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So often our media picks up what happens in USA or UK in these topics of race or violence, race, gender. They pick it up and then they
Mm-hmm.
plant it. Okay. So that is a problem. The other problem is this World Economic Forum every year comes up with a gender parity report. The World Economic Forum in
Mm-hmm.
Davos. These all
Yes.
these leaders of the world and the
Oh
economic
yes.
all these people meet, and that's a very big sinister evil organization.
Yes.
And
I
these
watched
people
them.
come up with come up with this report. The point is that report is actually unscientific. If you see the index, the way they created the index, everything is unscientific.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's also gets covered in the media, right? So a lot of pressure exists,
Yeah.
and that skews the discourse, gender discourse in India, and the fact that the Indian police is very corrupt. Real victims, female victims, do not get help,
Right.
real help. Okay,
Right.
I mean, if a female is in danger or she's facing sexual harassment or real sexual harassment or something,
Mm-hmm.
the police may not help because unlike USA, in India, you make a 911 call or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We have a separate number, 100. We call the police, and police will take easily 1 hour to arrive.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. That's a long time
Yeah.
for an emergency.
Yeah, and that they may be just half a mile away.
They take their time.
Yeah, yeah, that's how they are.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you have a problem, you can't call them. You have to go to the police station and report.
Mm.
So if you feel some threat or something, then you are supposed to go to them and complain rather than they coming and you know doing all that,
Yeah.
right? So the police system is also very bad. So women do not get help, or people who are facing crimes, they don't get help.
Mm.
Uh, and because we don't have the gun laws, we can't own guns in India, right? So
Right.
so that's also makes it difficult for people or women, or you can't protect yourself.
Right.
If there is, let's say there's a riot in India, people are rioting and they're really violent. They may kill somebody.
Yeah.
But the point is, the people don't have guns. you know,
Right.
I mean, you can't have the guns because in India don't get a gun. The license is very difficult to get unless you stay in a jungle. You have a farmhouse inside a jungle, you will get a license. Otherwise, yeah. And during an election, if
Mm-hmm.
anybody has a gun, he has to surrender the gun for the election day,
What?
and then take it back next day
What is that supposed to stop?
because you may misuse the gun during the election to threaten somebody.
Right. Wow. Gun laws. Crazy in India.
Right.
So
I
here's
mean,
another.
yes. Yes,
Yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
please continue. Yes.
Okay.
Well, this is the joke is that once the terrorists attacked Indian parliament
Yeah.
and the security guards didn't had any guns.
Right.
And they were supposed not to have guns.
Right.
Okay, but the terrorists came with guns and
Yeah.
grenades and a lot of explosives.
Yeah.
So imagine. So this is the amount of passive. Citizens are literally they are made a lot more passive, and the police is so corrupt and it doesn't help you,
Yeah.
right? So then any crimes against women, especially the gang rapes, they get reported. But the point is, you can't prevent them because most often these crimes are committed by the lower class people who are poor, laborers, or some such people. So
Mm-hmm.
the law doesn't deter them. They don't get a
Right.
sense of the law because they're
Right.
not educated that much, and they don't assess the risks of going to prison or getting a death penalty or something like that.
Yeah.
In India, by the way, for a rape, a man can be sentenced to death.
Really?
It maybe in 10% cases or 5% cases, they can be convicted and they can be sentenced to death.
Hmm.
Okay,
So,
so that's the latest laws. Like last 10 years, that's how the laws are.
mm. So what about false rape accusations? Do those get? I mean, how many of
No,
those
I mean,
think
I
are
mean,
innocent?
they have a sentence of around 7 years or 10 years
Mm.
or something like that. But if it's a normal rape, but if it's a gang rape leading to a death or something like that,
Mm.
then there can be a death penalty.
Wow, that's heavy.
But then it doesn't stop the poorer sections of those men because they are not being educated about these things through flyers or through awareness programs or anything, and then they commit these crimes and they get internationalized and all that, and that's where India gets a lot of bad press.
Mm.
uh, Whereas it's a problem of policing problem,
Mm-hmm.
and our police is not proactive. That means they won't have a list of areas where there may be these criminals. They are in a certain part of the city. Now
Right.
they have to proactively track them and find out, right? So they
Yeah.
don't do that. And because Indian police is also under the control of politicians, so let us say a particular political party is running a state,
Mm-hmm.
it can misuse the police against
Mm-hmm.
its opponent political party. Okay,
Yes. So that's
right.
just not an
So
American thing, huh?
No, I know. No, that's how I think in India the 30% of politicians have criminal cases,
Hmm.
and I used to believe that they are criminals, but actually then I found that most of these cases are false.
Really? Yeah.
Because so the politicians get a lot of false cases because they are going on a rally and then there was some violence and the politician gets implicated in that.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Well, okay, so here's a question. Why are laws
right.
never made gender neutral? When cases of rape of men are coming out in the open, it is prevalent in the local media.
There was some discussion around 15 years back about gender neutral rape laws or
Yeah.
replacing the word rape with sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that Delhi gang rape incident, the entire narrative turned and they exclude men, from this particular law. And now there's no discussion as even happening. Okay,
Right,
even
right.
though Indian Parliament or Indian judiciary debates about LGBTQ. See,
Mm-hmm.
in India, just like UK, maybe 30-40 years back, homosexuality was criminalized. It was a crime to be a homosexual.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was not as bad as I think UK. They were not putting people in prison, but it was a crime, at least on
Right,
paper.
right.
But then sometime 5-6 years back, the Supreme Court basically scrapped it, said it is decriminalized. All right. Then there were a lot of pride marches and all that.
Yep.
So even though we have a growing uh, homosexual or these LGBTQ movement,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not discussing gender neutral rape laws or gender neutral sexual harassment and domestic violence law. They are not discussing. Okay, because a lot of traditional and gynocentric mindset that exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you one more problem. We have a specific article in Constitution, unlike
Mm-hmm.
USA. We have a specific article in Constitution which says government can make special laws or special policies for women and children. And government can also make special policies for the minorities. I mean, minorities means, let's say, tribals
Yeah.
or racial minorities or tribals. Okay.
Right.
Now, because they were weak and they are not economically well off, they are poorer. So these two particular sections of the Constitution, they violate the equality principle, the
Mm.
preamble. Everybody should be equal, irrespective of language, race,
Right.
religion, and gender. But these two particular, are the exceptions.
Yeah.
However, the boundaries are not defined, so you can stretch them up to any extent and say that under this article of Constitution, I can make any number of laws and I can deny that to men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had this happened in USA, somebody would have easily sued the government or establishment or the state by taking them to the court. Just like
Yeah.
male only draft was, they were sued, or there were swimming pools in California which were women only, so then they sued them. And
Yeah.
then there were women startup networks, you can sue them. But in India, we cannot do that because we have an article called 15.3, 15
Mm-hmm.
bar 3,
Mm-hmm.
which gives that that article is there to, so you one can make any number of, so we have universities only for women,
Yeah. So
so
we
only
don't
women
have
can
that
study.
much.
And yeah,
Yeah. And it's strange. Nobody does it. Nobody actually sues for these things here. Like men don't. I even asked that HR lady that I had that conversation with, I was like, this company, this organization has all these preferential treatment and all these resources for all these different groups, but there's nothing for men. And she's like, "Oh no, there's a group for everybody." I was like, "There's a women's leadership group. there's not one for men. She's like, well, no, but we have gender based ones and there's one for everybody. I'm like, thinking, does she? She's literally
Yeah,
excluding
yeah.
men. Like,
Right, right. And then she's denying it also
yeah,
because she's ideologically grounded. So she's
I
in that
know.
ideology. So will be in a space of denial.
Oh,
Okay, so
yeah.
they get very uncomfortable,
Yes, they
or they
do.
go into outright denial, and then they twist saying the word gender means everybody.
Right. Yeah,
It
which
is
was
not.
weird.
It is not.
No, it
It is
doesn't.
not.
She even thought it was my opinion that I said that men are physically stronger than women. She's like, "Oh, that's your
Right,
opinion." I was like,
right,
"That's science."
right. Many times in India, the feminists tell us that why don't you read the definition of feminism? This is the definition
Yeah,
of
yeah,
feminism,
hmm,
and like you should read Gloria Steinem and some other feminists and all.
yeah.
Then we say, listen, I won't go through the textbook definition because I asked them, do you know the textbook definition of Taliban?
Hmm.
Afghanistan, the Taliban, what is the textbook definition? Textbook's definition of Taliban is a scholar.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
It's not a warrior, it's a
Right.
scholar.
A
A
scholar.
student or a scholar. So you don't go by any textbook definitions
Right.
because they are not working. Anywhere they won't
Right.
work, right?
Right. And a lot of the times they seem to run under the guise of whatever opposite of what they're actually doing. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Next question. If justice is all about punishing the culprit, could cases be reopened retrospectively and on what basis?
I think yes, cases can be opened. If a person is acquitted and there's a crime happened and nobody is convicted, maybe the case can be opened, but it's
Hmm.
more of an exception. If there
Mm,
is social activism and lot of media coverage, the case can be opened.
yeah.
Similarly, sometimes if a person is convicted of rape but he has not committed the crime, and
Right.
after 10 years or 20 years, somehow the case is reopened and then the person is acquitted. So whatever this happens in USA, so say something similar in India is also now happening, that many innocent people most probably got convicted. And
Hmm.
there are also cases in India, in certain parts of India, North India, where men are convicted of spousal murder, that they killed the woman and the body was never found. So the man is in prison for a couple of years, but then they found that the woman is living somewhere else with a lover in another
What?
village or another city. Yes.
What? And she knew damn well that he was convicted of murder, right?
Yes, yes,
She
she
knew
doesn't
that.
care. Give a damn. Yes.
So, is there any repercussions for her? I
No.
mean, she technically she's the victim in that, right?
Right. And there is no compensation also. The state doesn't really compensate these victims of human rights violations.
Hmm.
So if a person is incarcerated for 5 years, 10 years, and he's found to be innocent,
Yeah.
they are not compensated. I mean, very rare case. In one case, a famous rocket scientist was imprisoned and tortured for months because of a false allegation of he giving some secrets to a woman or a spy, female spy. But this was completely framed by the police. But this guy was a famous rocket scientist, okay, working in the space research organization. So India's equivalent of NASA, okay. So this person in 1990s, he was arrested and beaten and tortured for many months. And now government has given him maybe $200,000 of compensation. So he got a compensation and he got some national awards as well. But he was when they made a recently they made a movie. Last year they made a movie on his life. So I can send you the link. You may
Yeah.
be able to see it in Amazon Prime or Netflix.
Mm.
about that particular rocket scientist. And it's a
Hmm.
true story. But such kind of a compensation is very rare.
Sorry, you have to excuse. I sneezed.
Right.
Sorry. Huh.
Yes.
But the majority don't.
Yes, and the media narrative is like all laws are misused. So why are you speaking about women's laws? All laws are misused in India. So they have the audacity to say this, and now the courts are picking up. The judges are now saying, "Don't worry, all laws are misused in India." Now, can you imagine a judge saying that?
Right. Right. Right.
It's like your city's police chief saying, "Don't worry, there is theft everywhere going on, so don't worry about it. What's so big deal in your street? There is a case of drug traffic, drug peddling or theft because it's happening everywhere.
Right.
See, people can say it, but the police chief is not allowed to say this.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
same
He
way
shouldn't
the
be.
judge is not allowed to say that all laws are misused. Then why the hell you are there? Like you should resign and go home and
Right.
do some potato farming or something else.
Potato farming. Right. Mm. All right.
Yeah. So
Modern technology. So, why isn't modern
yes.
technology used in the legal procedure, like narco-analyst tests, which is used for even terrorists to spill the secrets?
Narco analysis is used in India.
Yeah.
It is used for terrorists for sure, and in some cases they use, but it is not prevalent. The number of labs are very less.
Mm.
One of our members had to go through. He and his wife and couple of other people had to go through narco analysis test
Mm.
because his child was murdered. Okay, his 5-year-old child was murdered by some criminals or maybe wife's family. So everybody had to go through, including the father. Okay, so of course I think the results were inconclusive, but they had to fly to another city. So narco analysis is not possible in every state. Maybe out of 30 states, maybe it is available in only 4 or 5 states. Okay, so that is one thing. And about the technology, I think slowly they are bringing in video conferencing and other kind of technology. See, I will give you an example of technology helping people. Like if you have CCTV in a police station, you have the CCTVs in the police station. So if the police is violating human rights, beating somebody up in the police
Right.
station,
Right.
or just like what happens in the USA, the body cams. So something
Hmm.
similar can protect the people. Okay, so
Yep.
now in Bangalore, in big cities, the police has started wearing body cams, which is good, but it has just started now. Okay, and similarly in the courts also they need to use more electronic evidence like emails or you know I mean video evidence or audio evidence with certain amount of forensic analysis of the digital signatures and all they should use.
Hmm.
But the problem with Indian legal system is the legal system has 50 million pending court cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the system cannot be sensitive. And
Right.
now, unfortunately, this is also you will find that the foreign media will never inform this. So
Right.
that is one reason I talk to you right now because the media like CNN and New York Times and Time and Washington Post, Huffington Post and BBC Guardian, they won't write a lot of real issues with India or many other countries. Our legal system is dysfunctional.
Yes.
So even a woman won't get justice. But they won't say that. And Transparency International, one of these, corruption prevention bodies, right? So they rate Indian judiciary very low in terms of corruption and
Yeah.
illegal activities. And there's many times the lawyers go on a strike. Can you imagine 1 month the lawyers are on a strike?
What? Lawyers can go. Is it a union thing over there?
Yes, yes.
There's
The bar council acts as also as an union. So
jeez.
because some policemen slapped a lawyer, and the lawyer was not following the law, and some policemen didn't know that that guy is a lawyer, so he slapped him, and then the lawyers are on strike for a month.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
There are occasions I know in last 15-20 years of my activism, lawyers have beaten up the judge in the courtroom.
Really?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can happen.
That's
Once in
weird.
the city of Chennai, the lawyers and the police had a big fight. So both groups were rioting. So the police was beating them, lawyers were throwing stones. It went on for like 3 hours. And some
Wow.
many judges also got injured in the process.
Right.
Then the Supreme Court set a panel commission to investigate for next couple of months. And I think we have as many as 20 to 40% lawyers are fake. They never got their degree and they
Really?
are practicing. Yeah.
Wow. I guess you don't have very good, well, what's the regulation on that kind of stuff? Like,
I
cuz
mean, I mean, even if you want to punish somebody, that will come to the same legal system where there are 50 million pending cases.
right. Yeah. I guess that's different than here because we have so many organizations that are like bureaucratic
Right,
that keep tabs on
right,
all this stuff. And I
right,
guess
right,
there could be a case to be made for the, you know, ha-
right,
people having to go to these people to stay in check.
right,
But I think here it's too
right,
much.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, this medical examination of two finger test banned. Yeah,
Yeah, what is the
this
two
was
finger
this
test?
was. I do not understand much of it, but it was an invasive test to ascertain if there is a rape or something like that. But then I think this comes from a very traditional mindset. This used to be there, I guess,
Mhm.
or I don't know. I mean, if there is a rape or sexual intercourse, the doctor finds in a certain way in a hospital or something. So that used to be a requirement kind of a thing in some rape cases.
Yeah.
But they removed this in 2013. I mean, that was part of many other tests to ascertain if there is a real rape.
Mm.
Uh, you know, but I think it comes from a very traditional notion because in India, people used to have very less extramarital or premarital relationships for
Right.
a long time.
Yeah.
So a woman can have relationships only with her husband or like that. So then this kind of invasive tests, they may be useful to some extent, maybe. But that is irrelevant now because we have a very big. Actually, it's like this: women used to marry at the age of marriage of women, uh, average age of marriage of women. In last 10 years, it has gone up by 3 to 4 years.
Mm.
So in last 20 years, maybe the average age of women has gone up by as much as 7 8 years.
Wow.
Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe in 1980s, women used to get married in on an average in early 20s.
Mhm.
Average. Some women may get married at 18, maybe at 17. Uh, but now I think this is like 26 or 27 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that there will be a lot of premarital relationships.
Right.
But if people are marrying at the age of 2021, women are marrying at the age of 2021, why will, the chance of, in a conservative society, the chance of having a premarital relationship will be less.
Right.
But
Yes.
here is the catch. Here
Yeah.
is the interesting catch here. When women used to marry at an average age of 21, 22, the man may be marrying at the age of 26 or 27 or maybe
Mhm.
30, right? Because men are supposed to provide,
Right.
get a job, get some money, and help the family, and then they get married. So at that time, premarital relationships were discouraged, or People were frowning upon such relationships.
Yeah.
But now women are marrying late, men are also marrying late. So they now created an exception. Okay, now we can allow the free marital relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
if it is a need of women, the traditional society is ready to bend backwards to accommodate.
Mm-hmm.
But when it was about man's sexual, need,
Yep.
biological things, they were not considerate.
Right.
But when women are marrying late, they say, okay, we now accommodate, the world has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also they do with alcohol. We are a country where we have certain theory about alcohol being bad.
Mm-hmm.
In many countries, alcohol is prohibited, like Islamic countries,
Yeah.
or at least the Muslim population cannot drink, right?
Right.
In Islamic countries. But then India also had a lot of prohibition related, movements, especially Gandhi had these things. Now, when women were not drinking, 30 years back, women were not drinking.
Right.
Very few, maybe 1% women had beer or whiskey, right? So when the men were drinking, so men were bad because they drink, right?
Right.
So every
Right.
man who drinks alcohol can be equated with an alcoholic. So
Yeah.
there was no distinction between somebody who takes 60 ml of whiskey and versus somebody who is completely alcoholic. There was no distinction.
Right.
But now there is complete empowerment has happened in last 20, 30 years. So women are queuing up in, liquor malls, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they go and buy. Maybe you will find more women than men in some places.
Right.
Now, now the government says, okay, that's the freedom. And the society also says, okay, let's accept. So now there's the stigma around alcohol, which used to be on men, that is being removed. That is
Right.
removed there, right? So society tries to accommodate
Yeah.
if it is a need for women, a need of women. So
Yeah.
we have a strange argument here now.
Yeah.
If laws are misused against women, then the law will change.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
So as
definitely.
long as the
I mean,
right,
look at the trans women in sports. I have been such
right,
a fan of it because I'm like, women have invaded every single space men have, and
right,
this is a place where men are, going into a woman's space, and I think women are mad
right,
about it because there's no policy that they can put in place that will give them the upper hand.
right.
Yeah,
And both groups are liberals fighting with each other. The
I
left,
know.
left,
Yeah.
both are. It's an infighting going on. So
Yes.
if we are not in their ideology, it's an internal fight. So we should be happy about
Yeah. Yeah.
it, right? So
No
so if
space.
the laws are made gender neutral and laws get
Mhm.
misused on both genders,
Yeah.
then there is more likelihood that it will be the law will change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, the probability is way higher. Yeah, speaking of,
Right,
just on a side note, I did because the Davos. I listened to a whole bunch of feminists little get together, little chit
right.
chats. They're pushing for right now. That one of their next steps is getting insurance companies to pay more for in vitro fertilization because they are getting married later. They're trying to start families later and they're having a hard time getting pregnant. And now they want insurance companies to pay for that too.
Mm.
So they don't like
Uh,
how
yes,
expensive it is out of pocket.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, traditionally in India, in this regard, traditionally in India, women used to deny men divorce. So, because there was no fault divorce. So, if a woman doesn't give divorce, the man may not get divorced for 7, 8, 10, 15 years,
Mm,
right? So,
yeah.
all his youth is gone. So, if he is separated at the age of 30, by the
Yeah.
time he gets divorced, he is 45. So, he
Right.
may be mentally, he may lose his mind. Many
Yeah.
men may get into depression because it's like fundamentally the constitutional rights itself are gone.
Yeah.
Now, the beautiful thing which has happened after men's movements, growth of men's movement, is that men are denying divorce to women also equally. So now, because women now are marrying late,
Yeah.
on top of that, if men are denying them a divorce,
Right.
so women will be much less likely to have a chance for a second marriage, or
Right.
have much less likely to have children. So now
Right.
the feminists are worried.
Oh, I
Then they
bet.
say that the biological clock is running out. Now they
Oh.
say, so
Yep.
so I was in a TV debate, a prominent TV channel debate, English. It was in English, and then the anchor is a feminist, and she was saying it's all about biological clock. Okay. So the man is, so let's say they are separated at the age of 32. The man is 32, the woman is 30, and then the
Mhm.
man denies the woman divorce for 8 years.
Yeah.
Then by the time she gets divorced, it's 38, and her probability of conceiving will reduce,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I often give the examples of Jurassic Park. I
Hmm.
mean, you cannot just make one-sided policies and expect that the nature won't find its own way.
Right.
So so the human society is a replica of nature. Okay.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
a evolutionary intelligent being. The society itself is intelligent being, right? It's like an ant colony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ant colony has so much of intelligence, right? As a group of ants, right? So when somebody makes something extremely vast, there will be unintended consequences,
Yeah.
which may come back at you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I love trans women in sports thing. I'm like,
Right.
it's exactly what these feminists deserve. All of it.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, in our country, most people believe, irrespective of their religion, most people believe in karma,
Yes.
and the interesting karma theory works in that way, that there will be always unintended consequences of what you do,
Yeah.
and those unintended consequences come back. So it's not like cause and effect, but it is much more than that. So it is a circular stuff going on.
Yeah.
So as you say, right, the trans, um, genders getting into women, so it's like a karmic
Yeah.
cycle,
Yes.
coming back and haunting them,
Yep.
happening in that way of, if you look at it that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Definitely. All right. Next question. Why are politicians always trying to pally up to female votes and treat male voters as disposable slash expendable?
I think it, for most parts of the world, this is a recent phenomenon.
Mm,
I mean, this is only 10 years
yeah.
phenomenon for countries like India or many developing countries. But I think this has mostly come from USA, this particular thing. I'll tell you why. Because in USA, there are more women than men. If
Yep.
you see 2 to 4%, right?
Yep.
So that is one part. And the other part is, I think, after Ronald Reagan, the Bill Clinton's time, the
Hmm.
polarization across genders, has become, I think it widened. So
Yeah.
women vote predominantly one party, and the men vote another party. So 15% to 20% is swinging in USA, right? I
Hmm.
mean, they women tend to vote 10 to 15% more to Democrats, and men 15% to vote more to Republicans. So that bias has developed, and
Yeah.
that is not going away. I mean, it
Yeah.
may be 20%, 15%, 12%, but that remains. Okay. So this gender polarization in politics is a American phenomenon. Now, because US has a lot of influence, and the American media and politics has a lot of influence,
Yep.
the other countries are trying to look into, exploit that.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you see, how do politicians work? They divide people into white, black, Latino, minorities, Asian,
Yep.
this church versus that church.
Yep.
okay, or different people of origin, and they put them in different boxes, and they try to appease them with some policy or some incentives and take that chunk of votes.
Yeah.
That's what happens all over the world in democracies. Okay, because democracies and our
Mm.
constitutions and democracies are modeled after Greek things, but for this huge population of millions of voters, you know, democracies are now weak in that way because you can do all these manipulations.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the amount of money spent on elections and the advertisement, if you see millions and billions of dollars,
Right.
that is also an attack on democracies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and media is now biased. So politicians have divided people into different groups. So in India also, last 75 years, politicians have divided people into, let's say, minorities. Now in India, the minorities, Christian and other religions are less. So its minority means mostly the Muslim, who are
Mm.
like 14-15%, because the Christians are very less, 3 to 5%. In some states, the Christians can be a majority, but it's only a small part of it.
Right.
So mostly it's the Muslim minority. So who takes the Muslim vote? That is one criterion.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is also caste, because people used to marry within the caste and they used to collaborate within the caste like a clan.
Right.
So which caste? So can you get this particular caste votes? So in a state there may be 30 people of 30 different castes, but some castes are like 20% or 15%. So if you get entire caste votes,
Mm-hmm.
so then they create policies or some kind of incentives or welfare programs
Mm.
by manipulating the laws and all to divide people along the castes. Okay,
Yeah.
right? So they divided people along the religion, along the castes. Then obviously the next one was the gender, right?
Mm.
So in India, the left liberal party called Congress Party, the original party which fought for our independence, which is basically a socialist party. So
Mm-hmm.
they started experimenting with the women's votes
Mm.
by giving more positions to women. Like they made one woman as a president of India. So she was so they nominated a woman, just like what Joe Biden did. He got Kamala Harris because she's a woman. So he needed a woman vice president candidate,
Wait, wait,
right?
wait, wait. Is that the same woman who is responsible for the chemical castration of a ton of men in India? Or is that a different one?
I think that's a different one. Yeah.
Okay.
So they got another woman. See, president of India is like queen of
Okay.
England. I
Okay.
mean, I mean, it is like it's not a monarch, but the
Right.
powers are similar. Similar. The president, you can go to the president, show a lot of respect, and you get
Yeah.
an audience, and then the president appoints the government, just like the queen invites the prime minister candidate or the winning party to come and become from the government. So the queen's role is in India taken by the president. So president can
Okay.
uh, doesn't have direct powers, like it's not like USA.
Yes, not like our president. Okay.
So it is like UK. So UK, you have an upper house and lower house, and
Yeah.
then the prime minister is the main person. Okay,
Okay.
right? So this left liberal party got a president elected. In our case, the president is elected, but not by people. President is elected by the Senate or the House and also the state senates. So everybody votes. The state Senate members and the House and the Senate. So there's a weightage for different states and the parliament. So the president is indirectly elected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they got a woman as a president. Okay, so
Mm.
they got some top positions. They gave it to women
Yeah.
mainly to create a diversity, and
Yes,
then
this
naturally they
diversity.
and then they claim it that we did this for women,
Mm-hmm.
and then some corporates joined, uh, you know
Mm-hmm.
during the elections to get more women involved.
Yeah.
Then they put a bill in parliament for last 20 years. There's a bill in parliament saying we need to have 33% quota for women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way,
Diversity, inclusion, equity. Yeah.
that is also a United Nations thing, because
Yep.
the American government did it in Afghanistan before Taliban for 10 years or 15 years.
Yep.
Afghanistan was a democracy, and then they had a 30% quota for women in Afghan parliament.
Mm.
All that is gone now, of course,
Yeah. Of
but
course. Good riddance.
but but they tried the same in India to have 30% quota for women.
Hmm.
And now there is so much of narrative going on that some political parties have started giving 30% seats during an election to women.
It's not a
Okay,
good
so
idea.
that means in a state you have the senators of the state,
Hmm.
or state sends a certain number of House of Representatives.
Hmm.
Let us say a state is sending 30 to the House, 30 people to the House.
Hmm.
So you contest all the 30 seats. So 10 seats they give it to women. The party itself gives. They may win, they may lose, but party allocates it to women. So this they have started now.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So this diversity thing has come up from there, and then the politicians think that they will benefit. Now here is the problem.
Yes.
If one party is appeasing women, the other party also has to do the same
Right.
to neutralize. So the other parties become helpless. So what they did in my state, which is a very progressive state, or very, I mean, say developed state, relatively developed state, where I stay, in the election, one of the liberal parties promised if they win elections, they will give the bus and public transport free for women. So any woman, rich or poor, or any woman, she has to show her identity card, and she gets, if she's from the same state, she
Yeah.
gets to travel free in the bus. Okay. So they implemented it. Okay. And then soon after that, a lot of women started going on joyrides all around the city, and the buses become overcrowded, and
Yeah.
school children were unable to board the bus
Uh,
because the women are interested in going all over the place because it's free,
right.
right? So this is how these quota politics and this appeasement politics play out.
Yes.
And now this is very divisive. This is like a gender war.
I like that
So
appeasement policy.
policies.
Yeah.
So this conflict ultimately needs a backlash,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And when the backlash happens, it won't die down so easily. It will continue for a long time,
Yes.
right? And then these politicians again cry that we wanted unity, like Biden got elected and he said we will unify the country. You remember a couple of years back?
Oh, I
Uh,
remember.
so this is how they play the games. Like
Yeah.
they become divisive, and then when the backlash starts, they say, oh my God, you people have divided the country. We will unite everything, and then they give free bus tickets to women.
Right. Isn't it weird how they have to use welfare to make them feel equal? I've been thinking a lot about
Yes,
that lately. Like all this preferential treatment stuff is just another form of
right.
welfare. It breeds
Welfare. Yes, yes,
entitlement.
yes.
And it
But here,
stops people from actually growing as an
but here
individual.
is the dangerous part.
Yeah.
There are some states in India where there are government housing. See, government housing in India is actually good. Traditionally, it is a good housing. If you got a government housing scheme, you got a house allocated,
Hmm.
it is going to be a good locality. You have to pay for it
Yeah.
at a subsidized rate, but it is in a good locality with a very high, on a long run, it will have very good appreciation. Okay. So in many cities, it is the government localities. The government takes, let's say, 1,000 acres or 2,000 acres of land. It
Hmm.
makes very good roads and parks and everything. It
Yeah.
promises to make all of them, and then it allocates the houses or the land lots and the houses based on a lottery system.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, because people have to first pay some 10% of money,
Hmm.
but then they have to go through a lottery system. Maybe one out of three or one out of 10 will get the lottery. Okay, right?
Okay.
But it's like a privilege again because you are getting a lottery, and then you construct the house, take a loan, construct the house, or get it from the government. Government constructs it for you, and then over next, you will never leave that house because your children will stay, and on a long run, that house may appreciate 10 times, maybe
Yeah.
100 times. Okay, it can happen in real estate in India. Now, in many states, they have decided that they will allocate this house only to women of the family. Now, the problem is that if the man is the only earning member, so he's earning, he's taking the loan, he's paying for it,
Hmm.
but the house belongs to the woman.
Right.
If the couple gets divorced, she gets all that.
Right.
So these are complete complete things that this works because of gynocentrism,
Yeah.
and many men somehow think it like, okay, my mother is benefiting, my sister is or my daughter is getting a benefit out of it. So men tend to prioritize this and look at the bigger picture,
Hmm.
but they don't see that this is like a frog being in water and water being slowly boiled.
Yes. Yes.
So the men are okay with this water that is getting heated. Men are okay with it, but
Yeah.
they don't understand where it will ultimately lead to. See, we
Right.
men are okay with certain privileges given to. Maybe it's okay.
Yeah.
However, I am a men's activist right now, and I oppose everything
Hmm.
because I knew that I being okay means it will be much worse after 30, 40 years,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Definitely.
Right. So, I mean, it's not about anti-woman or anything because we know that once
Right.
the appeasement starts, it will never end. In fact, it will accelerate.
Yes.
Okay. That
Exponentially.
is the problem. Exponentially.
Yes.
Right.
So why are most men okay with this stuff? Why don't they put their foot down and say no? That's something I struggle
I
with.
think I'll tell you that culturally men are conditioned.
Yeah.
Uh, in all cultures, by the way, they are conditioned to
Yeah.
take responsibility.
Yeah.
They are conditioned not to think about themselves. They are conditioned to think about the nation. They are always conditioned to think about the community, nation, religion, all that. And if you see men's interest, if you see men are interested in team sports,
Mhm.
lot more than individual sports,
Mhm.
right? Because for men, it is the team matters.
Right.
Or so men tend to be more interested in economy or let us say the nation and the politics and all because of men look at things in a bigger, always in a bigger way.
Right.
Even in personal life, men do a lot more planning.
Mhm.
Every man thinks of has a plan, some kind of a plan. Okay, so men do not look at the things like children do. Small children, they are very much about themselves at
Yep.
a very individual, all about their needs and themselves.
Yep.
So women have some of that in them, like they live in the present moment. They only think about certain things about themselves, but men are very abstract.
Yeah.
Just imagine you are not just thinking about yourself or your family, you are thinking about the nation and Ukraine war and
Yeah.
something which is nowhere related to you maybe directly, but you somehow come find some connection and you get invested in all that topics. Okay, so somewhere men tend to create a bigger purpose for their lives.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is where they end up overlooking these smaller things like like the transactions in a relationship, men don't bother about them because that's just too small an issue.
Yeah.
But women are like, okay, you are going and watching Super Bowl or football with your friends, and you are calling your friends for watching a match, and who will throw the garbage, and who will do the housework and all. See, if men really take an Excel sheet and start getting into these details,
Right.
it will be very bad for feminists or women
I know.
because so much of it is taken for granted,
Yeah.
right? But men don't bother because they always think about greater purpose or a bigger goal or nation or culture or something bigger than themselves, and they have an element of sacrifice also
Yeah.
inbuilt into that.
Yeah.
So we do not know actually yet how do we educate men to overcome or undo this particular conditioning. So we do some kind of an exercise with men called
Mhm.
me first.
Mhm.
That's a kind of a meditation or a kind of a technique we use, where we say that you have to declare that I come first,
Yeah.
and then my parents, then my spouse, girlfriend, children, or whatever, and then comes the neighborhood or relatives, then the city and the society, and the nation comes. Nation and religion, they all come in the end.
Mm.
Okay. However, most men tend to, in our culture, most men tend to put their parents ahead of themselves.
Mhm.
Many men put their religion or nation ahead of themselves. Okay. So
Yeah.
when there is a nationalistic thinking, right?
Mm.
Right. So men tend to get invested, saying, I can sacrifice, but I can't see anything wrong happening to my religion or my nation or my family honor or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of toxicity of men comes from this, okay, because they are putting something else ahead of themselves. But feminists have twisted it,
Yeah.
saying toxic masculinity and all. Okay, I can make men non-toxic tomorrow by telling that you just think about yourself, right?
Right.
Then why
But
will you be
yeah, yeah.
there won't be anything? Yeah.
But then feminists would be like, "Oh, but you don't care about us anymore." Like the feminists
Yeah,
want
yeah.
you to put them ahead and above everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we can ask the philosophical questions. Why should men care? Or
Right.
should the word care or the domain of caring,
Yeah.
should it be given to men in the first place? Because men don't know how to care about themselves or their own emotions. See,
Right.
men are emotionally suppressed, so men can't take care of their own emotions. How
Right.
can they take care of a woman's emotions?
Right. Yeah, they can.
Because they themselves are emotionally suppressed. Like a
Right.
hungry person cannot take care of you know food requirements of another person because he himself is hungry,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so it won't
You know
work
what?
that way.
You know what's strange? Have you seen that video that just came up like a week ago? That song, "The Rich Men of North Richmond."
No, no.
Oh, you haven't seen it? It has like
Right,
15 million views. It's been out for a week, and tons of people are responding to it, and it's hitting men so hard because he's talking
right,
about the male experience in today's society, and it's going across
right.
the world. It is such a good song, though. But I
Hmm.
think that will really touch because it's making them emotional. It's making men like actually sit with
Yes.
their emotions about the way things are right now. I think it's so good.
The strange part here is that we have a lot of media coverage about false cases,
Yeah.
so which men's rights activists have got the coverage.
Mhm.
Even courts openly say that this law is misused, rape laws are misused, or domestic. They openly say it, and
Yeah.
it is getting into front page or the third page of the newspaper or
Mhm.
online.
Yeah.
And our parliament discusses about misuse of laws. Also, it is discussing since last 15 years.
Yeah.
So some member of parliament stands up and asks the questions about false cases, misuse of law. Okay.
Yeah.
So ours is one of the rare, you know, parliaments in the world where misuse of law is being discussed, in spite of misandry and gynocentrism
Mm-hmm.
and feminism, which
Yeah.
means that our politicians have the courage
Yeah.
to talk,
Yes.
or we have given enough cover fire to our
Yes.
some of our politicians to enable them to talk. Okay, so given this much of awareness, still a father doesn't worry about his son.
Right.
He worries about his daughter, but he won't worry about his son getting a false rape case or a false domestic violence case. He thinks that this only happens in some other families, or it is very rare. So he doesn't warn his son today. Okay. So there is a huge psychological resistance in man.
Yeah.
And I can blame one part here, like most probably men also trust the system lot more than women. Okay. I mean, the system means the government, the judiciary,
Yeah.
the media. The men trust a lot more. Like if you look at it, like women have rebelled against the culture and
Yeah.
the religion, whether it is feminists or non-feminists, or all over. Women have last 40-50 years, women have questioned a lot. You won't see much of men questioning the society. Even in men's rights movement,
Right.
men will question system, they will question media, they will question uh, the feminists, but it is difficult for men even now to question traditions or cultures, and religions, parts of religions where there is a anti-male stuff going on.
Right.
So men somehow tend to believe that I mean, men are, you know, they are the followers of the system. In the matrix, like the system is our enemy, the system is the government or the whole, thing that is driving the whole societies. But then we have to be a bit skeptical about the system, right?
Yeah.
But that is only very limited in men. Like somebody may take my identity, there can be an identity theft. That is one area. So certain areas men are skeptical of the system,
Right.
but they don't go into the fundamentals. And I'll tell you, we have some privilege in India because we know the system for 3,000 years, right?
Right.
Because we have a history of 2,000 to 3,000 years. We have written records or books for which are old, so we know the history. Okay, so if you look at the American history and the system, you have 200 years or maybe 300 years of system. You know the system and what happened, and the Boston Tea Party and the wars and the
Yeah.
taxation, the civil war. You know that history. But when I take interest in my history, I have to go up to 1,000 years, 1000 AD. What happened? Or maybe 2500 during Buddha's time, what happened? And I can go to those places. So if you come to India, I can take you to some place which was actually 2005 years old.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
really. And that is a stupa. There are structures which are that old, or there may be a structure which is 1,000 years old. It's
Yeah.
like Greece. Okay,
Yeah.
so we and then no invasion has flattened us. See, there are many cultures which got flat because the Mongols came, they invaded,
Right.
they flattened everything and went away. Okay, but that never really happened to India. Okay, or maybe China also. So we know, then we can understand the system.
Yeah.
I mean, system during the emperors or during ancient times, how the system used to work. Because
Mm.
it's not like modern systems are anyway different from the old systems. They are all the same system.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Right. By the way, there is a hint here. Actually, the matrix concept of red pill,
Yeah.
actually that or red pill and the truth, the discovery of truth and what is truth,
Yeah.
right? And what is real. That actually comes from Indian philosophy.
Really?
Yes. And it is obvious because uh, in the second or third version of Matrix, before it became woke or whatever, in the movies, this is explicitly mentioned. There are Sanskrit texts mentioned in that those scenes.
Mm.
There's a background score, and that background score has uh, certain words spoken, and these are the Sanskrit words.
Mm.
And the red pill, the way it you see in the online, right? People claim that I have taken a red pill.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, that's not the true red pill.
Right.
The very fact of me claiming that I have taken the red pill and I'm done
Yeah.
means you are blue pill. Okay? That means you will never know the truth.
Mm.
So being open to discover the truth. So that door you should never close.
Right.
So you discovered a truth about feminism or media or fake statistics or the way the system works,
Mm.
and we are the slaves of the system. Yes, but then that is not the end of the truth.
Right.
Maybe that is the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is another layer of truth. And after that, there is another layer of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole design of mind is in such a way that that never ends.
Right.
So somebody claiming that there was a point I got the red pill, that is okay in a narrow sense.
Mm.
That is okay. However, if somebody is no longer interested in further truth, then they are stuck.
Yeah.
So this is like a spiritual journey to seek truth.
Mm-hmm.
And one should be very brutal, and one should be ready to be uncomfortable with those truths.
Mm-hmm.
The real red pill is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody got a red pill and is not feeling discomfort,
Right.
then
It,
that may not be the red pill.
right. It might be a placebo or whatever, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it may be something else. Okay,
Yeah.
so because the deception is built into the system, it
Yeah.
deceives you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and our mind deceives us in many different ways, and that is how we lose power
Mm-hmm.
in our life, personal lives. We lose power because the mind is playing games with us, and the system is also an extension of our mind.
Yeah.
And the and the discovery of truth is not an end on itself, because the discovery of truth should lead to more freedom and choices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so discovery of truth will have a discomfort phase, but then you see the light, and that is freedom,
Mm-hmm.
experience of freedom, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it happens. So it is necessary for the men's movement to constantly seek uh,
Uh-oh. He froze.
I think there is some problem with my
Okay.
display because
No, you're
some
good.
software update came, and I was worried it got disconnected.
Oh,
So
yeah, you just
so
froze for a second.
yeah, yeah. So because we don't have funds, we don't have institutions, we don't have gender studies departments, masculinity departments, we don't have physical or governmental bodies yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? To build all that, we need to literally build a civilization, because the system will not build it for us,
Right.
right? They may celebrate International Men's Day. It took like 15 years
Right.
to bring it or maybe 30 years. So it is too slow. We need to create our own systems. So
Yeah.
it is important to to work on the way the system works,
Mm-hmm.
and our understanding about that has to evolve, constantly keep on evolving.
Yeah.
Then we can work on it.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about International Men's Day or Women's. Like, I didn't even know International Women's Day was even a thing until a couple years ago. And it's strange that it's on my birthday. I'd never heard about
Okay,
it before, ever.
I see.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't ever hear any men's specific stuff being celebrated ever. It's always women. Going back
In
to what,
fact,
gynocentrism?
men have certain blindness to International Men's Day.
Hmm.
So men themselves are in a kind of a, they resist this conversation about International Men's Day somehow.
Yeah.
So lot of men do not Google, they don't search about Men's Day. Some men search about Men's Day on Women's Day globally,
Yeah.
and then they go around crying why there is no Men's Day
Right.
instead
There is.
of just searching for it.
Right. Right.
So men have a blind, they have that blind side to it.
Right.
When it comes to gender, men have a huge blind zone, because any man who talks about gender topics, he's not man enough.
Hmm. Says the other men?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That is why lot of men's activists, they don't get lot of followers.
Right.
Okay. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of good men's activists, both men and women. But if you see male men's activists who have written a lot of books also, even Dr. Warren Farrell,
Mhm.
who had written that book of Myth of Male Power and all, and he is
Yep.
there for like 30, 40 years.
Yep.
Not many men follow him,
Right.
which means that they don't acknowledge or respect him.
Right.
But they will respect you if a man has muscles and he has a lot of cars, they will respect such a man.
Right. They respect success. But Jordan Peterson seems to be well respected. What is
Yes, because he shows his degree, his PhD, his
yeah.
intellect. He sells his degree. Okay,
Yeah.
so any man who is not selling his certificates, or Jordan Peterson says that I'm a clinical psychologist with this background,
Yeah.
and also so he gets it from the structure. He gets that power from the structure,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if like Elon Musk being a CEO and the richest guy, he can do stuff men are okay with it, or right. So men needs a stamp of approval from somewhere.
Okay. Like the
But
right
most,
credentials.
yes. So if I claim that I'm an artificial intelligence guy before being a MRA, or
Yeah.
I keep my men's activist as low priority and I talk about artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
and which I can, because my master's degree is on artificial intelligence in 90s,
Yeah.
much before any of these guys ever were doing anything. So if I talk that and then I talk some topics in gender, I do a simulation to show them some of these social phenomena,
Yeah.
or I talk about computational social systems, which is actually a computer science topic, then men will respect me.
Mhm.
But if I just go as a men's issues expert or a
Mhm.
men's activist, for them, I'm a beta male.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they will lack, even though I may have saved 10,000 men from suicide, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter to them. So they
Right.
will underestimate you. Now, here is the problem that is happening with men's movement. You see, most men's movements are charities, they are not companies. Most men's movements mostly work like charities, mostly they are like community.
Yeah.
Okay. They are not monetized properly, or their monetization is very limited. As a result, these structures appear socialist.
Mm.
The men's communities
Mhm.
appear socialist, and
Right.
men are not comfortable with socialist systems.
Right, right. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
See,
it's in
my
a man's nature. I think women are more I feel like a woman is a
yes,
natural socialist.
yes,
Like yeah, but
yes,
men
yes.
aren't. Yeah.
So my organization is a charitable trust. So
Mhm.
it's a society or a trust, right, with certain funds and all, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we do a lot of work. We get a lot of media coverage. This year we got around maybe 400 newspaper articles.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good. Yeah.
including international stuff. But they won't respect us because we have socialist structures.
Mm.
Our organizations are socialist, structured in a socialist way.
Hmm. So what's the solution to that? I
If you
mean,
see, if you see recently, what has happened is there is certain amount of hero worship that has started
yeah.
in men's movement.
Yeah.
That means there are certain online influencers.
Yeah.
They may have basics right or not, or they may have depth in philosophy or not. They are very good in communicating, or they
Yep.
are very good actors or good in communicating, and men are worshipping them, or rather, millions of people will follow them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that aspect of capitalism has come up,
Mm.
and that is a disruption,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's say there is a YouTube video by a men's rights influencer or a red pill influencer with, let's say, million views in 1 month. So that person will be making maybe $10,000, right?
Mhm.
Maybe, right? So a YouTuber can make money, right? If you have
Yeah.
million followers or 10 million followers, you can make money, right?
Mhm.
So if there is a business and a team-based business in the men's movement, then men will respect it. So either there should be an individual hero or there should be a company
Right.
performing in a certain way. Like, there's a Tesla fan club. Elon Musk fan clubs are there, like movie fan clubs. So there are a lot of people who are like fans of Tesla or Elon Musk. Okay.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
keep on going around him, and he also gives them a lot of humor.
Yeah.
And with that crypto Dogecoin and all, so they have an ecosystem they have created, and
Yep.
we have to learn from it because they look at Elon Musk as a kind of a self-made man, though he had a good background,
Yeah.
and they look up to him because he's successful. So men will follow successful men.
Yeah.
However, as a men's activist, your successes will be very, very slow, and men don't like that.
Mm.
Like, say, International Men's Day,
Mm.
we guys were also played a very important role in popularizing it in 2007 2008. So there was can you hear me?
Yes. Now
Yeah,
you can. You
yeah,
froze
yeah,
for a
yeah,
second.
yeah. Before 2008, there was no global consensus about the date. That 19th November, there was no global consensus. It was all chaotic. There was
Right.
no focus on the International Men's Day. So only a few groups of men in different countries, they collectively did something in social media to popularize. So we played a role. However, after that, there was something called Movember. Movember is, people were not shaving,
Yeah. No
and
shave
they had a
November.
mustache. They had a mustache on Movember, comes from
Yeah.
M, is from mustache, right? So that came up afterwards, and it was funded, right? So that's how that entire thing came up. However, this was a slow success, right? So
Mm.
men won't look at us as successful men.
Hmm.
Okay. So for men, success can mean money, or it can be something we should display to them,
Right.
political power
Yeah.
or something like that. So in the male world, a lot of bragging works. So you have to keep on talking great about yourself,
Mm.
or other people have to talk up great about, which is fake. But if you
Yeah.
see a lot of men's rights influencers are doing exactly that in USA or anywhere else, they keep on doing a lot of self promotion
Yeah.
because there's no other way.
Yeah.
You see, this is very ironic. Men need help,
Right.
and yet they don't trust the very people who may help them.
I know. I know.
So it's a catch 22 situation.
Yeah.
That, see, there are patients, they need doctors, but they don't trust the doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was a digression from the main topics, but I
I
thought,
know. I know.
this is a
Yeah. Yeah.
philosophical topic. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we have
No.
to address these systemic issues
Yes, those are
with
important for
us.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I will
I mean,
I will tell you what we intend to do to overcome this.
yeah.
We intend to take land lots and construct a
Okay.
building,
Yeah.
men's rights building and a museum.
Ooh. Yeah.
Now it's a shrine. It's like a religious shrine.
Yeah.
Imagine you do that, and then men visit from different parts of the country or world once in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Then men will create. There will be respect.
Hmm. So it's almost like adding a bit of a religious aspect to it so they can,
Yes,
yeah.
symbolism,
Yeah.
ritual, and power
Yeah.
has to be shown. So
Yeah.
men understand power and money. So that is what has to be communicated to men. And if we are keeping power and money out, then it
Yeah.
is socialist,
Right.
kind of.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, I've often argued that women are naturally socialists. It's in our nature. We like fairness and all the things, and that's why I would argue that women shouldn't be voting. Like, just because we
Right,
we we focus so much on just tiny
right,
things that we
right,
don't have the capacity to look at all the unintended
right.
consequences of XYZ. And I feel like our
In
emotions get in the way
yes,
a little bit. So,
in women's world, a flat hierarchy kind of is okay
mhm,
because women can treat each other as equal,
right.
and women won't tolerate insults of other women. Generally women won't tolerate. So some amount of flat without much hierarchy can happen in women's world. In
Hmm.
the male world, power and hierarchy plays a lot. It has a lot of role to play, and
Hmm.
in the male world, men, suck it up. All that insults, they take it for the greater purpose,
Right.
right? So that is how. And if you don't bring that kind of a system, then men will be restless.
Yeah.
So that is how the men create a power dynamics or a hierarchy to to get the things done at a bigger scale. That is how they
Mhm.
scale it up,
Yes.
right? But women rarely scale it up. But women can be very good if it is cattle raising or a small business, or
Hmm.
women can do like a microfinance or small networked communities. Women can do as good as men, or maybe even better than men. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see women selling, let's say, vegetables in a village market in India, they can be very good.
Hmm.
However, they cannot scale up the
Right.
way men can,
Yep. Yeah, I would
right?
agree. All right. So I continue with contrivers questions.
Yes, even if women are not allowed to vote, would male-centric problem be in a way? This vote thing again. Because you are bringing up these topics which are making me think.
Yeah.
See, what is the value of your vote? That also we need to ask. Or do these votes really matter?
Right.
Let's say, let's say in USA,
Right. Mm,
the only the swing states. If you are in certain swing states, if you take a 10-year window, you are in a certain swing state, maybe your vote matters. But
mhm.
if you are in Idaho or you are in California or New York, in what way your vote matters? Because the state goes blue or red. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So we have to ask that fundamental question. And then I remember when I went to China in 2009 as a tourist, then in Tiananmen Square, I asked the guide, young guy, and I asked him like, how does your governance work? And these guys were very open in speaking. So they were like, listen, this is our building. So they have a parliament kind of a building, or what is their people's army building, or whatever they call their party,
Mhm.
right? So they said like, all the people who want to contribute to the politics or to governance, they have to apply for a membership of the party. Okay,
Right.
that means if there is a good engineer or a good doctor or a good social worker or a lawyer, whosoever is good in your field,
Right.
all these people are supposed to get into that door and say, okay, we are in,
Yeah.
right? And so they get some kind of a crowd, maybe a million people, maybe, let us say. And then there is an election inside,
Mm. I like
right?
it.
And
Mhm.
they can elect people among themselves.
Mhm.
And they find whosoever is the good, they will give him that job to do,
Yeah.
or that they make him the mayor or handle transport department or some department or some ministry or whatever.
Mhm.
That was the brief explanation. But it makes sense because for the rest of the people, they are irrelevant. They are like cattle in any way.
Right.
They take fake news, they are misled.
Yep.
So much of time and money is wasted
Yeah.
debating unnecessary issues,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like China is not debating about pronouns right now.
No, definitely not.
Right now, right?
No.
I mean, I mean, what are we doing, right?
It's because
I
we let
mean,
all
we are
the
wasting a
idiots.
lot of time.
And
Yes.
I blame my country for this because it's my country's fault. We
I mean, they are not.
put we put
Yes.
the
Yes.
the most idiotic people, the weakest people, the stupidest people, the most emotionally and mentally unstable people, we put them into positions of power and leadership because we have this
Right.
weird thing where we think we should listen to these people, like their opinion
Right.
actually matters. And I don't get
Right.
it. I don't get it. I've never listened to
Right.
fucking idiots like that in my entire life.
Right.
I'm like, why would
Yes.
you, if you need a brain surgeon, why would you talk to like a
A lawyer.
special ed kindergartner about
Yes.
brain surgery? Like,
Right.
I don't get it.
Right.
I don't get it.
Right. And if you look
I,
at the media,
yeah,
media is also, it's only a couple of hundred people. They control, they run the media,
right.
right? I mean, the number of journalists are very limited. The columnists are limited,
Yeah.
and the people who are funding the media are limited. So
Yep.
it's a small minority running the media. And but in China, they don't have these problems. They, like Europe, they won't have to debate about immigration or illegal immigrants. They don't have to debate all that. Like Europe, or Europe is
Right.
struggling with immigration.
Oh,
France and
bad,
Sweden and all.
bad.
China doesn't have to deal with all that.
No.
Okay, okay. So for them, it's all very simple.
Yeah.
And in India also, we debate about illegal immigration or illegal infiltration and religious conflicts and all. Because in India, the problem is we have separate laws for separate religions. So based on your own religion, you have different marriage laws.
Oh, but that complicates things.
So if you are a Christian,
Right.
marrying a Christian, you have one law. If
Mhm.
you are a Muslim, marrying a Muslim, it's another law. Okay. And if you are a Hindu, marrying a Hindu, you have another law. But if you are marrying across religions,
Right.
then there is a special law.
Wow.
And along with that, inheritance and other stuff also gets added up.
Yeah.
And the Muslim law, to some extent, comes from Sharia.
Right. I'm super
Bit
interested in
of it,
that.
bit of
Yeah.
it. Okay. Now,
Wait. So you have law that comes from Sharia law. Oh,
bit
see,
of it.
I've been wondering how a secular version of Sharia law could put in check the feminists I have in my country right now.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we can think about it. It's interesting because I
Yeah.
know in Islam what happens is, in Islam traditionally in Sharia the alimony is decided before marriage.
Really?
Do you know that?
Uh-uh. No.
So the man pledges certain amount of money to the woman before while getting married or before getting married,
Mm.
and if they break up, then that is the amount of money he is supposed to pay to her
Mm.
one time.
Yeah.
I mean, this may be the simplest way given my limited knowledge, but that's how it works.
Like a severance
Having
package.
said that, having said that, even their gynocentrism has really screwed up things.
Really?
In a country
Yeah.
like Iran, their culture evolved in a certain way that the man has to pledge certain amount of gold coins before getting married.
Mm.
Certain number of gold coins he
Mm-hmm.
has to promise to the woman while getting married.
Mm-hmm.
So if they break up, he has to give that many gold coins to the woman.
And they adopted that from you guys?
No, not from English
Oh,
because they were never under English. So now that's a kind of Sharia. Now here
yeah.
is what happens when men get married. They are very romantic and all. They're getting married happily, and so they may say 100 gold coins. You may say, "What's the big deal? After all, we are not getting divorced."
Right.
But this has really happened in last 15, 20 years that lot of men have to pay 50 or 100 gold coins, which may be like $1 million or $500,000 in Iran.
Jesus.
So the guy is literally going to some country and working to
Right.
pay, and he will take 20 years to pay all that money.
Right.
Right. Okay. So
No.
different religions have different things going on, and this is what has happened in Iran.
Mm. So
And this
that
is this I have verified. I have verified from all sources, including talking personally to people.
so that's a result of gynocentrism.
Yes, yes.
So no wonder they hate us. No wonder they hate America. I would. Yeah.
I mean, even if there is no American influence, the Islamic societies are also gynocentric.
Are they?
Yes.
Hmm.
I mean, they
They
segregate the
always?
genders, right? They
Yeah.
segregate the gender, so you cannot talk about equality, right?
Right.
You can
Right.
never talk about equality. So then they give higher preference to women,
Okay.
right? And I will tell you one more thing which happens in these societies.
Mm-hmm.
Men generally tend to die early, 5 to 10 years earlier than women. Then in these families there can be a matriarch.
Mm.
In these Asian societies, Asian mean the whole Asia, not East Asia. Uh, there can be matriarchs in the family. The old lady has a lot of power
Yeah.
because power is also based on age, and there can be more older women than older men.
Mm.
Okay, so it can happen that in these cultures, a bit of gynocentrism comes from respect to mother.
Which isn't a bad
So
thing if the mother is in fact respectable, right?
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
But if she's nuts or a feminist or a
Yes,
misandrist, it's never a
right.
good idea.
Yeah, yeah. Or if she's self-destructive, then she can take everything down.
Right. Right.
Right.
So Trevor has this question. Why is there an inherent sense of expendability amongst men in their own psyche that they treat every other man as expendable?
Yeah. So this male disposability thing,
Mm-hmm.
because this is the first topic that we understood long back by reading from literature from American sources and Dr. Warren Farrell and all. Uh, this is evolutionary. So that is how evolution has happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is how we protected the tribe. So I think we have to artificially undo it. There is no other way.
So is that part of MGTOW philosophy? Controlling your biology and all that kind of stuff.
It can
Develop.
be because
Yeah.
it is about self preservation. So
Yeah.
when you are saying self preservation, that means you are taking less risks.
Yeah.
However, MGTOW philosophy won't work without a community. We are social animals.
Yeah.
So in USA, I think the MGTOW community has not evolved much. The men's rights community may have evolved better, but the MGTOWs are like reclusive. They just go on their own. It is important to get along with other MGTOWs.
Yeah.
So there has to be a lot of brotherhood. I will take the example from the religious orders like the monks, Buddhist monks,
Mm-hmm.
or the Christian monks. You have to take an example of that. People who are celibate and they remain in a male community.
Mm.
We have to look at some such examples.
Yeah.
I will just take a few seconds and connect a power source to
Yes.
my phone because I don't want it to lose
Yes.
the power. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead. Actually, I do have to go potty. Contriver, you want to say something for like a commercial break?
No, I mean, how much more time do you need?
Just a minute.
Okay, fine.
Talk to Anil while I'm gone.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think we'll talk a bit. Yes.
Okay, I'll be right back, Anil. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So let me ask you the next question, sir. That is the 14th question
Yes.
of the questionnaire.
Yes.
The
Mm.
question is, would men across state lines and spectrum ever stand up and start protesting against the draconian laws and the tyrannical police state which keep getting worse every single day?
Yes. Men can protest, stand up and protest, provided they get a leadership which is based on hierarchy, power, and money. Like whatever happened, during history. If we see how such kind of battles were fought, if we see it doesn't matter where you start. It can be a small group of people or more people, doesn't matter. What matters is you have to collect a group of people, create certain power structures, certain cash flow, certain amount of money being involved. Like in old times there were mercenary armies, or there was certain amount of looting. So certain economics has to get involved. Traditionally that is how men have fought wars, or they have fought for justice, or they have certain taxation system. right? And or there is a religious and economic system integrated together. So that is how men have fought against injustice. So religions, at least couple of religions in the world, they were more about fighting against injustice, uh, in the initial days at least. Moral code and certain rituals, certain power structures, uh, all these systems have to be built. It doesn't matter whether these systems are big or small. First, you have to start small and you have to make them grow. Okay, so however, if we say we have a brotherhood, we are all brothers, we want no hierarchy, no power structures because power structures are bad. If you want to fight against a government, then you have to create your own government and fight against
Yes, but uh, I mean, my understanding would be on the topic that apart from socio-politico-religious or cultural background, apart from that,
it. Mhm.
could there be a neutral stance or a neutral point on which there could be a global brotherhood of some sort against the draconian laws that are pitted against a man in general, like there is a global sisterhood of rebellion all across the world, that they have to rebel against the tyranny of the state or the culture, the civilization, and so on and so forth. So, my question to then would be, could there be across state lines and spectrum of religiosity, culture, differences in language, etc., but could we cross that Rubicon when we would be able to develop that sort of global brotherhood apart from socio religious, cultural, political lines? Could there be so?
Actually, we are already doing it. If you see that thanks to social media, the communication across cultures have drastically improved. We may not notice it or we may not acknowledge it, but people across cultures are communicating. Earlier, it was only at politics level or media level, but now you can talk to an Arabic guy or Arabic woman or a Chinese or anybody you can talk to. Okay, or maybe you have to use translator or a chat GPT or whatever. You can talk across social media. The unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of censorship in the social media still going on. Otherwise, the world is getting smaller, so the definitions of nations themselves may change. With a lot more virtual things coming up, or blockchain or virtual currencies coming up. So lot more parallel things in a parallel plane, some other kind of an existence which comes up, like the men's movement. If you see, we were influenced by the American or in Western theories on the men's movement because we were very young compared to the American men's activists are average 15, 20 years older than us, the first generation.
Right.
So we benefited there, but then we did our own research also on our own because given our history, instead of just copying. So the Chinese are also pondering. I have spoken to Chinese men in business meetings, and they themselves talk about these issues. But then for them, the problem is the language barrier. So
Yeah.
they are communicating with each other, but they are not able to connect. So globally, we are moving there, but English being the common language.
Mm.
But if I add to this particular question which was there in this list, like see in India, right? What happens? We have maybe 20 to 15 languages, 12 to 15 languages,
Hmm.
but the English or Hindi being the common language, mostly it is English, but it can be Hindi also.
Right.
But some people don't understand Hindi, so we can communicate using these common languages. But here is the beautiful part: we can communicate with Pakistanis. So I may be able to communicate in Hindi with the Pakistani people more than I communicating in Hindi with some Indians.
Mm.
So a lot of North Indians are closer culturally
Yeah.
or linguistically to Pakistan than the South Indians. I will give you this example.
Huh.
Okay. Or I coming from Eastern India, I knowing the languages of Eastern India, I can understand the language of Bangladesh. So that's like 250 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So together we can take South Asia, so which will be almost like 2 billion people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, culturally, the Southeast Asian countries are culturally related to South Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So you add another another 500 million people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So India's presence here can influence the Middle East up to Egypt and Southeast Asia and South Asia.
Mm.
Okay. I am not counting China or Japan and Korea yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is should be possible for us to do a ICMI in Dubai in this decade. Before
Mm.
2030, we may be able to do a ICMI in Dubai. Okay,
Mm.
and visa to Dubai is so easy. Okay,
Yeah.
or maybe in Nepal, or maybe in Thailand or Singapore. It may be not Singapore because it's expensive, but maybe in Thailand we may be able to do, which has a visa friendly countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, people from will travel from different countries, right? But see, in India, the problem is that if somebody from Pakistan wants to attend a conference, it's very difficult for them to get a visa. Okay, because of the animosity. But
Right.
if we have a conference happening in Nepal or Sri Lanka, ICMI happening in Nepal or Sri Lanka, the people from Pakistan can come.
Mm.
That's easy for them. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we need to find some friendly buffer countries,
Yeah.
where we won't have the visa issues for all sides. And
Yeah.
then it is easy. Okay, and another catch here is that like the cost of living in many of these countries are very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, India being, let's say India or Southeast Asia and all are very affordable. I mean, you just have to travel. The travel is one major cost, but otherwise, the cost of the conference, you can do it at one third or one fourth the cost.
Mm.
So that gives us a lot more. We can save a lot of money because ultimately it gives because the money in the movement we can use for any purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we should have conferences in all over the world, like
Mm-hmm.
USA, UK, Europe, India, or Southeast Asia, or Nepal, or Japan, maybe. But then it will disturb the system. Lot more, it will disturb them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would be great to have a conference here at Texas A&M University. Do you know how many big, humongous auditoriums they have?
Right, right.
I think that
Yeah,
would be
one of
great.
my friends is a professor in one of those universities.
Mm-hmm.
So I sometimes stay in the campus with him, and so sometimes he stays in the campus. So I stayed a couple of times. Yeah, true. In fact, I have a dream of having a rally, men's rights rally in California,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with a lot of Indian software guys who work there, and the American, so white and brown guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
or white, black, Muslim and brown guys, everybody together.
Yeah.
Because one of the big narrative they have got is that it's all white male, uh, you know, white
Right.
males are the problem, But
Right.
then you have a movement where these things are not it's so inclusive. Then they
Yeah.
can't easily accuse us of being alt right or racist. How can they do that? Like,
Right. Yeah. No, I feel like that's definitely what the feminists have been very good at doing is blame everything on the majority of men. I mean, in my country, the white men are the
yes,
majority.
yes.
Yeah.
See, this is where we have to accept the failure, that
Yeah.
we are not able to break their narratives. So it is also important to hack their narrative. So they have a narrative, they
Yeah.
have media with them, but then we have to create our narratives, and we have to use a small part of media. See, they have 90% or 95% of media, but we may get 2% of the media, maybe a certain section of conservative media or certain parts of social media, or maybe somewhere we get some access. So with that 2-3% of media being sympathetic to us, we have to create a counter narrative to disturb their narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that can only be done in USA if you have some people on the ground.
Yeah.
It cannot be done with only the online crowd,
Right.
because when you are online or sitting online, it is very easy to label you as a fringe.
Right.
And when people are not physically seeing you, they don't know who you are.
Right.
I mean, they make, what Hillary Clinton did, like basement dwellers and basket of deplorables.
Right.
Because so you have to be physically on the ground to show that no, you are not a basement guy. You are earning 200K, working for a tech firm or something, young guy. Then then they get that, oh my God, somebody working in some tech firm and he is not afraid of losing his job and he is a men's rights activist.
Right.
Then they have to, there will be a meltdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is needed. So that is why yes, structure and symbols on physical space are also important. Like conferences are important. That is why, because they are physical. I
Yes.
mean, yes. So that is also something important. And of course, the conference content can go online. Like certain videos of 2021 conventions, they are
Mm-hmm.
there online like that.
Yep.
So we should not ignore the physical, physicality, one physical stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
if we
super
want to change the
important.
narratives. Yeah.
Yeah. And now, would men's human rights advocates like you ever be able to accomplish the desired parity in terms of legal procedure with women in general?
I think, we may not even aim for parity. We may ask for basic human rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At present, even the basic human rights are not, we are not getting it, right?
Right.
I mean, when the laws are misused and there is so much of propaganda against you,
Mm-hmm.
so and there is no way you are compensated, and all that. So the basic human rights are what is our focus,
Yeah.
and that also gives us a very principled stand, because we are asking the basic survival, or basic, what is the basic need of a human being. That is what we are asking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if they want to discriminate us in other fields, they may fine, but at least the basics they are not giving. So that gives us the reasons to fight with a very strong resolve, and it's not a theoretical fight or a very abstract fight about over on something superficial or silly.
Right.
We are saying, you give us the basic human rights first.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So
Right.
how is Save Indian Family Foundation, an international conference on men's issues, is able to do differently to advocate for men's human rights?
I mean, before 2010, nobody had thought about internationally people from across the countries to meet, right? See,
Right.
the first step is to meet. We will be online, but then we have to meet, because when you meet each other, then the uh, the sharing and the communication is much more cohesive, much more intense.
Yeah.
So you get lot more ideas, lot more learnings. Okay. And what happens is, when people across countries meet, you get lot of insights. You may not implement them today, maybe next year, or maybe 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
but then you implement it and you get very different results. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these, I mean, different communities and groups in different parts of the world are learning lessons in their own way also. So when they
Right.
share these insights, that will accelerate the growth, and that will stop the decay, because a lot
Right.
of men's communities are
Yeah.
also going through decay because of
Yeah.
lack of funds, and the energy is limited, people's skills are limited, and many times the movement is a lot more individual driven. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there is one key person, he is playing a very big role, right? But if that person is taking a break or is not there for some time,
Mm-hmm.
then it impacts the that particular structure or that particular activity.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to go beyond this to a higher level of maturity. If we look at from a corporate or a startup in that kind of mode,
Mm-hmm.
so we have to create all that, and this is where the international conferences where people meet, and we often say what happens in the conference during the conference, the more happens after the conference,
Right.
during the after hours, because
Yeah.
during the conference it's all the talks and the questions, but after
Right.
the conference when you are partying or in a pub or somewhere discussing and sharing and all that, then
Mm-hmm.
that's where you get all the ideas, right?
Yeah.
So that is how we have to enrich and strengthen the whole movement, and keep on innovating and improving, because as I said, we were socialists, we were thinking like socialists, and
Right.
it was a red pill movement when we could say, oh my god, we are fighting against feminists,
Right.
but we are creating an environment which is socialist or feminist. So
Right.
certain people will misuse this system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because there is, when misuse happens, when do we see the misuse? When the uh, rights and responsibilities don't match.
Right.
Somebody gets more rights and less responsibilities,
Yes.
right? But then we have to do the same inside the men's movement also, right? Somebody who's working hard or contributing more should have more rights, and
Mm-hmm.
also we were not able to do that in India, for example, for a very long time, and it took me almost 8 years to do a transition
Ooh.
from a socialist kind of a system to a system where it is more about performance based, you know
Meritocracy.
uh, meritocracy kind of system, and a lot more stable system to build.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah, so that is what is needed, and conferences will help in that.
Yeah.
And this question, next question, is about bilingual. I think I answered this. This, I think, globally, I talked about men's rights in India, Bangladesh, or
Yeah.
Pakistan, and Southeast Asia and Arabic. So what happens is, like, there can be certain languages common,
Yeah.
okay, or people may understand certain languages across, like let's say. Uh, Spanish may understand a bit of Portuguese, or certain Latin American countries, they may not understand each other's language, or certain Germanic, like say, Germans may understand half of what Swiss or Austrians are saying, or they understand each other, right?
Yeah.
If you know German, you may understand Dutch to
Mm-hmm.
some extent,
Yeah.
right? So this is how we have to, bridge the gap between languages and cultural proximities
Yeah.
to create different pockets and these safe countries, right? Countries where it is very easy to get a visa, or they are very tourist friendly countries, or so we have to also identify those current countries, take some real estate, or you know do these things, so that we don't have these barriers which come due to political reasons.
Right. Right. In the end, could there be a possible solution via men initiating as mentors to young men and boys to re educate them, teach them some traits of self love and selflessness, since nobody would come to save them? Oh,
Yeah,
come to their rescue.
yeah, but the point is that why will young people, young men,
Yeah,
accept these men as their mentors or their coaches? Why will they accept?
right.
So that is a question. There's a certain marketing that has to happen. It's a
Hmm.
two-way thing. There is a need. They have a need, but they may go to wrong places.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
in the internet forums, they may not go to the right coaches. Okay, they may go to certain people whom they may think that they are the right coaches. But this is such a domain in psychology that maybe different people need different kind of coaches.
Hmm.
So one single coach may not, if you can't say this particular person is the coach and he's good for everybody, it may not be possible that way also.
Right.
So how do you market it to them?
Right.
How do they sense a need and whom to go? Because ultimately men respect power and money and cars and certain amount of,
That's
I
why
told I yeah,
that's why Tate's so popular, right? Because his Bugattis or whatever.
exactly. Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I tell to our guys in India, like, why don't we get a couple of Harley Davidsons, hire some of them, and roam around? In India, Harley Davidson is very rare, so why
Yeah.
don't we roam around, do something different, and then, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, or I mean, you have to do something different. You know, Andrew Tate, he comes across as successful because of his money or his professional fighting career,
Hmm.
right? And of course, he has taken certain risks. Certainly, he has taken risks because
Oh, big time.
uh, big time he has taken those risks, and it is rewarding. So he's also part of the same evolutionary system in which we are evolving. He's also evolved.
Right.
Okay, so we
Absolutely.
cannot judge or blame him because he's a creation of the same system
Yes.
that created us.
Yes.
Okay, so we learn from him, his successes and his failures, and vice versa. His people who are following him can also learn from our successes and our failure,
Yeah.
and then we can find out what is the best way to, you know, go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all evolving. It's like, and it's funny because when I first stumbled upon, we'll call it the manosphere or whatever manosphere topics, it was like I saw so many different people doing so many different things. The majority of it I liked. Some of it was counterproductive, you know. And
Right.
it's like, why aren't these guys all on the same page?
And
Like,
which year was it when you first came across? In which
um,
year?
like 2, 3 years ago, I think.
Oh,
Not
okay.
not not very long ago. It was after the lockdown.
2018, after the lockdown.
Yeah, after the
Oh,
lockdown.
okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
So
right,
yeah, it's
right.
just weird.
Yeah,
And what's weird, speaking of different cultures and different speaking different languages, I noticed a lot of these guys spend a lot of the time arguing over what words mean because they use different words for different things and they have their own
right.
subjective definition and it's like these little tribes all speak different languages and they're having a hard time actually communicating with each other.
Yeah, there is a certain language which has evolved in the manosphere,
Yeah.
right? There are a lot of terms in manosphere which have come up. There are a lot of slangs,
Yeah.
but these particular people arguing about the definitions of, let us say, red pill or definitions of MGTOW or definition of various other topics.
Yeah.
I think this is more about a Western mindset.
Yes.
See, we guys don't bother about definitions.
Yeah.
So in India, a pickup artist, a MGTOW, and a men's rights activist, all three can coexist.
Right.
Okay, there is
Yeah.
no problem. They don't
Yeah.
have a problem with each other because they love the diversity. Okay,
Yeah.
our country's motto long back is unity in diversity is our motto. Okay, one of our mottos.
Yeah.
Okay, our main motto of the country is truth only triumphs. Okay, that is
Hmm.
what is written on our passport and all. And the other motto is unity in diversity.
Yes.
So in here people can get along with each other, and we don't bother about that. See, the one of the things is that if we do too much of compartmentalized thinking versus the holistic thinking.
Hmm.
Compartmentalized thinking means this is women's issue, this is men's issue, this is children's issue, this is some others issues and all. This is compartmentalization.
Yeah.
So an extension of that is in the men's movement also you compartmentalize.
Yeah.
That this is MRA, this is MGTOW, this is something else, this is something else. Okay, but these are all boundaries, right? Or all that, right?
Yeah.
What if we don't do that? Sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Right. So maybe so sometimes it happens that men do too much research, or this is like too much. They go into they argue over nothing actually.
Yes.
So it may be better to focus on action so that you get results rather than just debating some abstract points.
Right.
Because what gives you results is some action. You do some online trending in Twitter, you know, or you do a protest on ground, or you go to Senate and lobby with the
Hmm.
members of parliament or senators, or you meet some staffers or do something. Only doing will give results.
Yeah.
Talking or sharing ideas won't lead to results. I mean, won't lead to direct results.
It should
Only actions
inspire.
can give results.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it should
Yeah,
inspire action. You know.
yeah, but the world today lacks action.
Mm.
That is where, see, I'll tell you, in the men's movement also, this is the challenge. There's a lot of talk, lot of inspiration or whatever, but there is that action component is lacking
Mm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And in India, we focus on that. We say it doesn't matter how much you know.
Yeah.
If you don't know, also it's okay, fine. But will you attend a protest or not? That matters.
Yeah.
If you don't want to attend the protest because you are shy or you don't want to be in front of media, then get lost. We have nothing to do with you. We'll talk after a while. But
Yeah.
you have great ideas what to do. We have 3,522 ideas already pending. So we just tell because we don't talk theory.
Right.
There's no point in discussing. But if you see a lot of YouTubers talk a lot of theory,
Hmm.
uh, but they talk a lot more about feminism, for example. But the results, only actions will give you results.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they can hold their own little protests in places where they work. Like they can put their foot down
Right.
and be like, "No, I'm not doing this." And then if they
I have
get
seen this.
fired,
I have seen this in USA
hmm
when July 4th, in many cities they do a parade,
yes,
right? They march. So first it's the government officials or some people, and then there is a farmers going with pumpkins, and you have seen that, right? It
yes,
happens in small cities also, I
yes,
think. They go, and then some local school and some community. It takes like a 2 hours. Then there is fire station people, and the fire trucks,
yeah,
children, right?
yeah,
And I don't think it costs much to be part of such a rally, right, on
right,
July 4th.
yeah,
So a local men's support group, maybe it will cost $1,000 or $2,000 fee you pay to join that one, maybe. So maybe there are 10 MRAs, doesn't matter, but it will be symbolic, right?
right, yeah,
Right. But then why they don't do that? Because they are stuck in the mind.
mm,
And those guys who are doing it, they often do not get highlighted.
right. It's like what maybe they feel like it's pointless if
So they give up. After some time, they give up.
yeah.
Well, what is the next question?
Oh, what would be your final message to Mr. Anthony Johnson or other people here in the
Yeah.
West who would like to connect with ICMI or SIFF to commence some sort of collaboration with MRAs in the MGTOW community in India or worldwide?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think I already kind of answered it
Yeah.
about conferences in different parts of the world, and we take into account to control the costs.
Yeah.
So, in some countries, the cost is more, and we have to geographically distribute them to enable more participation and spread, and that will also help us change the narratives.
Yeah.
And geographical connections, interactions also will help give us new ideas or a new kind of power. uh, I mean, I have American MRAs talking to me about being digital nomads.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they travel to India for 3 months or 6 months, they stay here and work from home.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that means that they will save a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
By working, like say you go to a South American country and you work from there because your work is online.
Right.
Uh, so it may work. It may be good to do that, right? So we can get a lot of these ideas where we can save certain amount of funds in our personal lives,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of MRAs also struggle with their finances. This I have seen. I
Yeah.
mean, many of them are well off, but then there are many who struggle with their bills or jobs or career and all, and and then it becomes difficult for them to contribute to the movement.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can, as a community, create certain structures to help, save money or save jobs, or uh, you know, I mean, this is like a religious community helping in old times, right? So that can create an inner strength and strengthen us and help people, and also that will make the man be more committed to the movement.
Mm.
It does not harm me if there is a young man comes to me and says that I have a background in tech, and I have only 1 year experience, and I'm looking for a job in some company in India. And then, so if I have 20 years of experience, then I can help him with his career.
Yeah.
So that same thing can happen with a doctor or any other professional, right?
Yes.
So one can get professional mentors in the system inside the men's rights movement itself. Or
Mm-hmm.
if somebody lost job accidentally because he got fired from Meta or somewhere,
Yeah.
so he's looking for a job. So in India, it happens like we often work like a community inside our friends and groups. So many times it can help you. If I'm buying some real estate or I'm getting into some project, then I can talk to somebody like a community and take help or take suggestions, and that brings efficiency to it.
Yeah.
And that also means more security, more feeling of emotional security,
Yeah.
which at one point of time the religions used to provide to
Right.
some extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is what I can give as a message, that we have to plan next 10 years to bring that kind of an understanding. And when we are geographically networked, it can give those ideas better.
Yeah.
Because I will give an example. If I come to USA, for me the electronics is cheap in USA. Okay,
Really?
if I'm buying an Apple phone in USA, it will be 30 to 40% most probably cheaper.
Really?
Yeah, right.
Those things are like
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Any electronics is cheaper for me, 20 to 30% maybe in USA
Huh.
or Europe compared to India. Okay,
Okay.
because of whatever reasons, government regulations, taxes, and whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
or the volumes and all. But in India, the cost of living is cheap, right?
Yeah.
Or medical facilities are cheap, or certain other things are cheap. So, so there are all these equations are there.
Mm. Well, Anil, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And did we answer all contrivers' questions? I think we did, right? Let's say final message to men and boys in general, which you might have
Just
spoken
give me
through
a
your
second.
actions till date. Yeah.
I am not able to hear very clearly
Uh
because
oh.
of my headphones lost the charge.
Oh. That's all right.
Yeah.
We need to wrap this up anyway. I've taken up a bunch of your time, which I really appreciate you spending with us.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yes, can see you now.
Yes. Okay.
Can you hear okay?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put all your links and stuff in the description, and I'm gonna tag you in this. Hopefully, you can get some traffic headed your way too. I look forward to going. I am making a trip to India. I wanna see this for sure.
Yes. Well, I will send you an email with certain details in future
Okay.
about future.
Yes, sir.
And this year, the ICMI, we have more than 220 tickets being sold. So we have put the final 40 on the website now.
Yeah.
So we will have more than 250 people for sure.
Good.
And so we'll see. And it's a 3-day conference. So a lot of stuff we discuss is about organization,
Mhm.
about activism. So those are the topics which get more priority.
Right.
Uh, we don't discuss about feminism much. We
Yeah.
discuss more about activism, how to help each other, how to talk about the laws,
Yeah.
how to solve the problem. So we talk about more about solutions
Yeah.
and the future and the plans. So this is more about a planning and solutions and actions that are to be taken, rather than theoretical part is less.
Yeah.
But we will have external speakers speaking about mental health, the professors speaking about mental health,
Mhm.
and maybe some authors and some influencers also.
Yeah.
So they are not MRAs, but they will be coming from other fields giving the talks.
Mm. That's pretty good. Yeah, the mental health I think is not touched on enough. And I know the field being full of feminists is kind of
Yeah, yeah.
perpetuating the
Please give me a
problem.
second. Give
Mhm.
me just a second. Okay, I will be
Yes.
just a second.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, mental health is one important topic that is need to be discussed. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, and Neil, should we end this? I've already taken up a ton of your time, and I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Yes,
Yes.
thanks.
And we will put all the links to all of your things and share them,
Yeah,
okay? I
yeah.
appreciate
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Have a nice day.